lifeless body on a lonely mountain pass.
And it was a very sad ending to a real short life.
She gets thrown away. Murdered and thrown away.
A young victim who fell through the cracks.
She was just all alone.
She is a human in a sea of humans.
A tangled web of violence and betrayal.
Okay, you're lying. Now the next question is why?
It's up to Lieutenant Joe Kenda to fight for the dead.
Family doesn't care. Friends don't care. All she has is us. Let's not disappoint her. It's a torturous death. It is one where the killer doesn't just want to kill you. They want to feel you die.
On the rural outskirts of Colorado Springs, a police cruiser winds its way up a dark mountain path. Typically, officers only come up here to break up keg parties and confiscate alcohol from minors. But not tonight.
Patrol officers received a call that led us to believe that somebody had seen something regarding a body up on Gold Camp Road.
The anonymous caller claimed a female body had been dumped near an overlook known as Point Sublime.
He discovered the body down the hillside, down the slope.
She was well-dressed, jeans, a dark shirt, a jacket. Looked to be just like your average, in this case, very young victim.
Officers estimate the girl to be somewhere between the ages of 18 and 20. But her identity and the cause of death are still unknown.
Yes, that's a possibility. Hypothermia is a possibility. So we had to look at all kinds of different things before we were able to make that determination.
Police must also consider the possibility of foul play.
Lieutenant Kenda.
At 10 p.m., dispatchers notify Lieutenant Joe Kenda, homicide detective and head of the Major Crimes Unit.
We'd been working overtime for days. But scheduled, anonymous calls are placed. Discoveries are made. Bodies are found. Okay, let's go see what this is about.
Hey guys, how you doing? How you doing?
Kenda and his detectives arrive on the scene. And he orders his men to inspect the body.
We were able to roll the body over. It was pretty obvious to me that she'd been there quite a while.
Death. One that quickly raises the alarm.
Lieutenant, what do you got? Gonna need to come down here.
They turn her, and they notice a ligature mark on her throat. A ligature is a device used in strangulation. Something you can apply pressure to the neck with. People believe you can strangle someone very quickly. You can't. It's a tort. It is one where they want to feel you die.
Kenda descends into the ravine and examines the victim. She appears much younger than he first imagined.
You look at this kid and you think, how could you have gotten to this in such a short time in your life? To wind up here with your throat crushed.
Whatever happened to the young girl, crime scene techs believe it didn't happen here.
And there was no sign of a struggle. There wasn't really anything at the scene other than the body itself.
Not only have a whodunit, we have a who isn't. She has a circle of friends. She has someone who last saw her alive. She has all kinds of things we need to find out that we can't know until we identify.
Detectives start by going through the girl's pockets, but it seems the killer has cleaned them out.
There was no papers on her to identify her, no wallet, no identification card.
Upon closer inspection, one detective spots a clue on the teenager's hand.
One of the identifying marks that we found on the victim at that time was a small tattoo in the webbing of one of her hands where it had the initials J and M.
Reds,
Sir!
I need you to check missing persons for a young girl with the initials JM on her left hand.
Yes, sir!
Officers radio this information into dispatch and learn the anonymous tipster has called back.
Our anonymous caller says the victim's name is Maggie and that we should look at a Jill Yousef. So the next question is obvious. Who are you, Jill? The person that dumped her over the side? Somebody who came by later and didn't call the police?
Detectives run the name Jill Yousef through police records. They immediately get a hit.
Jill Yousef had an arrest with the Colorado Springs Police Department recently, just prior to this homicide, in which she was arrested for a shoplift.
29-year-old Jill had been caught for, and according to the police report, Jill had help.
It's so not my fault.
With her at the time of the arrest and a participant in the theft is a Margaret Fetty, known as Maggie.
That kind of tied at least the name Maggie and Jill together for us.
But that's not all police records reveal.
Margaret Fetty is a blonde female and has a tattoo bearing the initials JM. I am now 99.9% convinced that our Jane Doe is in fact Margaret Fetty.
In an effort to notify the victim's next of kin, investigators dig deeper into Maggie's records. But there's no one to call.
When you work a murder case, you always want to establish everything you can about the background of a victim. There's a photograph of Maggie. No one had one. Not even as a baby.
She'd become a ward of the state, so she was dependent of the Department of Social Services.
Her mother disavowed her. Father whereabouts was unknown.
The state had placed Maggie with a local organization called Chins Up, a group home that specializes in abandoned children.
Chins Up is a great place for kids to be able to go to school, but it's not home.
On contacting Chins Up, detectives learn that Maggie ran away from the center a year ago. Since then, she's been living on the streets.
She was just all alone. You're in a situation where you have no support, no adult supervision. She really had nobody looking out for her but herself.
She is a human in a sea of humans.
Basically, she was 15 going on 25.
So how did Jill and Maggie know each other? And what possible connection could Jill have to Maggie's murder? Detectives couldn't imagine the twisted tale that would unfold. A tale that would plunge this case even deeper into mystery.
The possibility of being a killer is in all of us. Animals kill for need. They kill because they have to. Humans kill because they want to.
Following an anonymous tip, Colorado Maggie Fetty strangled to death off a mountain road outside of town. Given Maggie's age and the brutal nature of her murder, it's an especially disturbing case.
Maggie was an adolescent child who ultimately nobody cared about, and she gets thrown away. Literally. Murdered and thrown away. This girl had... The only people that were concerned about her were me and my guys.
It's my job to stand for her, to move forward so that we can find justice as to who did this and why.
When I talk about it, my stomach gets upset. I see it over and over and over. You look at this child at this crime scene, there'd be a flash and I'd see my daughter. And you think, oh, God. I don't want to lose anybody's daughter. Not mine, not anybody else's. Somebody has to pay for this.
Thanks to an anonymous tipster, detectives have identified a woman who might have some answers. 29-year-old Jill Yousef, an acquaintance of Maggie's.
It's not enough evidence to say that she's responsible for this death, but it is somebody that we can tie to and start at the information.
In the early hours of December 4th, detectives knock on Jill Yousef's front door. A bleary-eyed Jill answers and agrees to come down to the station for questioning.
Tell me about your relationship with Maggie Fetty.
We hang out all the time. She's a lot of fun to be around.
She described Maggie as being
To Jill. She met Maggie about a year ago, not long after Maggie had left the group home.
That's okay. You can stay the night.
Since then, Jill had become something of a big sister to Maggie.
She had been through some of the things that Maggie had been through, so she could relate very well. It was amazing how well they clicked together.
In fact, Jill tells Kenda that she and Maggie had grown so close they even had matching tattoos.
They each had a little tattoo, JM, referring to Jill and Maggie. Each one of them had the same tattoo on their hands.
We became very close over the last year.
By all appearances, Jill Yousef doesn't behave like a suspect. In fact, Jill doesn't even appear to be aware that her best friend is dead.
So we say, well, you're really good friends with Maggie, aren't you? Oh, yeah, I am. I'm really good friends.
We're pretty much like sisters.
Maggie is dead.
Jill breaks down in tears, seemingly devastated by the news of Maggie's death. But Lieutenant Kenda suspects Jill might be holding something back.
Her demeanor, her body language has guilt written all over it. She can't sit still. We say, we found Maggie last night on a gold queue. I think you know about that. I think you're involved in it. Tell me I'm wrong.
If you didn't kill her, this is your chance to tell us your side of the story.
And Jill spills her guts.
Though adamant that she had nothing to do with the crime, Jill tearfully admits that she knows the killer's identity.
It was one of my friends.
Jill claims that Maggie was strangled by a woman by the name of Melinda Stewart.
Jill was friends with Melinda. She was also friends with Maggie. They palled around together. Jill's statement was clearly saying that Melinda was the responsible party for this death.
Kenda and his team step out of the room and run a background check on Melinda Stewart.
Melinda does not have a criminal record. She's 29 years old. She's married to a sergeant in the United States Army. Nothing in circumstances would indicate that she's capable of killing someone.
Skeptical of the accusation, detectives circle back to Jill. That's when she makes another startling admission.
She openly admitted that she was present at the time the homicide occurred.
According to Jill, it happened 3 nights ago on what started as a typical Saturday evening. Jill had been hanging out at the Stewart's apartment, under company while her husband and his army buddies swapped stories. Melinda suggested they have a girls' night on the town.
She says they're going to go out and they're going to take Maggie out. Okay. Then what? Well, we go pick up Maggie, or we buy a bottle of tequila. We decide we're going to go up on the Gold Camp Road and look at the city lights and drink. As she's driving this car,
Oh my gosh.
and that Maggie is in the right front passenger seat, and Melinda is sitting in the back. And they're all talking and laughing and passing around a bottle of tequila.
You shut up.
The trio pulled off and parked at Point Sublime. According to Jill, that's when it happened.
For no apparent reason, Melinda grabs an ace bandage that's inside the car and begins to strangle Maggie from behind. That Maggie is struggling to save herself. Jill is trying to stop Melinda. As Melinda looks at her with blood in her eye and says, "If you stop me, you're next."
According to Jill, once Melinda was sure Maggie was dead, she forced Jill to help her dispose of the body.
Strangled and dumped on the side piece of trash. How could somebody do that?
It's a chilling account, and Jill's tearful delivery seems genuine. But detectives still don't know why on earth would Melinda want Maggie Fetty dead.
The only motive Jill was able to provide to us was that she believed Melinda was, quote, crazy.
Jill says that Melinda suffered from some sort of severe mental illness.
Jill advised us that Melinda, after a hospital, that her husband had placed her there on the night of the murder.
Hours later, Kenda and his team are standing in the admitting room at Cedar Springs.
They talk to the staff. Is Melinda Stewart a patient in this facility? Yes, she is. Brought in here yesterday by her husband, who reported that he thought she was having a nervous breakdown.
Detectives ask the hospital staff. Moments later, out walks a nurse with a disheveled young woman on her arm.
She has every appearance of being someone who is deeply disturbed. Her eyes are wandering. She has difficulty standing.
And the moment Melinda Stewart opens her mouth, it becomes clear the interview is going to be anything but routine.
She looks at one of my detectives, the first one she sees, and says, "Are you dead?"
17 hours after finding the body of 16-year-old is closing in on an unlikely murder suspect, 28-year-old Army wife Melinda Stewart. According to mutual friend Jill Yousef, Melinda strangled Maggie to death on Gold Camp Road.
Melinda attacks and kills Maggie for a reason Jill doesn't know.
Then, according to Jill, Melinda forced her to help dispose of Maggie's body. Kenda in a psychiatric hospital. But it's clear from the get-go that interrogating her won't be easy.
She offered up a very childlike demeanor, making statements that almost like a preschooler would talk.
If you're going to talk to somebody like this, are you going to get an intelligent waiver of rights? I'm doubtful of that. But I'm certainly going to try.
We're actually police officers. Can I ask you a few questions?
Readily agrees to be interviewed at the hospital, but her bizarre behavior doesn't let up.
She started off with some of her same childlike comments. Maggie's asleep. Not saying Maggie's dead, but saying Maggie's asleep.
Kenda plays along, addressing Melinda like a little girl.
Can you tell me how she went to sleep?
Melinda begins to talk about it. Begins to say Maggie is cold. Somebody wrote. She then describes the evening and says that she and Jill and Maggie go up on the Gold Camp Road to drink tequila and look at the city lights. Exactly similar to what Jill says.
But as Melinda's confession continues, Kenda notices a glaring conflict with Jill's version of events.
Jill let me drive.
Melinda says driving the car. And now Jill is in the back seat, so she reverses the positions.
That's not all Melinda reverses.
She then says that they're sitting there in the car, and Jill, for some unknown reason, attacks Maggie with an ace bandage and is strangling her. And Melinda says, I try to stop it. Jill tells her that she's next if she interferes.
Please don't let her hurt me.
So her story is ultimately the mirror image of Jill's story.
It's not the account Kenda expected. And coming from a woman who's clearly unstable, it's not the most reliable either. Still, Kenda can't help but wonder if Melinda's story could be true.
I'm gonna suck. Do I think that Melinda's disturbed? Yeah, she is. Does that translate to the personality of a killer? No.
Without a clear idea of what transpired, Kenda can't charge either Jill or Melinda with murder. But he can hold them on charges of obstruction of justice.
At this point, believe them both. And they both stay locked up in the can until we get to more of this.
With Jill and Melinda in custody, detectives need to find a witness who can shed some light on the truth. The best place to start is with Melinda's husband, U.S. Army Sergeant Daniel J. Stewart.
He's been in the Army for some time. He's in an engineering battalion. He builds bridges. Seems to be reasonably intelligent.
Is that him? Sure does.
Sergeant Stewart seems astounded to learn his wife is suspected of murder.
He's very cooperative. He's absolutely. A murder? Oh my God. How could that be true?
Back at the station, Kenda sits down with Sergeant Stewart, hoping he can shed some light on the murder and his wife's unstable mental condition.
So why don't you tell me what happened on Saturday night?
I asked your wife, and he laughs. And he said, oh, you mean her characters?
Dan was the first one to volunteer to us that Melinda had some multiple personality problems.
According to Sergeant Stewart, Kenda hasn't spoken with the real Melinda yet.
I know that sounds crazy, but it's true.
It sounds to him like detectives met Limmy Sue, one of 4 different personas living in Melinda's mind.
She is Melinda Stewart, his wife, von Hofstein. She is a 5-year-old girl named Limmy Sue. And she is in person known as the Clown.
She doesn't have a dangerous bone in her body.
You're sure about that?
Absolutely.
Well, Kenda can't help but wonder if perhaps another character could have emerged the night Maggie was murdered.
Is there a possibility there could be another personality there that might be more violent or dangerous? Or
Not my wife, no. No way.
We asked Dan when Melinda and Jill, or was she one of these other people? Oh no, she was herself. She was Melinda. She'd been fine all day.
Sergeant Stewart tells Kenda there was nothing unusual about Melinda's behavior the night of the murder. He and some army pals had been playing cards when Melinda and Jill decided to have a girls' night out. A few hours later, Melinda and Jill returned.
did you happen to see them when they got back?
I did. Everything seemed nothing out of the ordinary.
They come back, everybody's in a good mood, everybody's happy, no mention of Maggie.
But according to Sergeant Stewart, the next day, Melinda's multiple personalities began to surface, one after another after another.
She said Monday was the last straw. I thought she was having a nervous breakdown, and so I took her into the hospital.
Meltdown is connected to the murder. But did Melinda's meltdown cause her to kill? Or did witnessing Maggie's death trigger the meltdown?
Dan believed that Jill Yousef was the one ultimately responsible for strangling Maggie. He could not believe that his wife would do that.
Even so, Kenda and his team will need more evidence before they can charge either Jill or Melinda with murder. Sergeant Stewart tells detectives that there's someone else they should speak with.
Who's James Catlin? Well, he's the guy who works with me. He's a boat specialist in the engineering battalion, and he and I work together. He dates Jill off and on.
According to Stewart, the ladies borrowed Catlin's car on the night in question.
Hey, babe. Can I get the car keys, please?
Where are you going this late?
We're gonna go up to
You good?
Camp Road and...
You and Melinda?
Yeah, we're gonna pick up Maggie.
Later that evening, detectives bring Catlin in for questioning. Evening gels with the one given earlier in the day by Sergeant Stewart.
James Catlin provided a story that was consistent with the information we received during an interview with Daniel Stewart. And that basically was they had no knowledge of anything.
Kenda interviews many of Jill and Melinda's friends, but no one offers any new insights. Privately, he begins to wonder if the true killer will ever come to light.
We're still meeting, but we're still not getting very far. So, a lot of activity, no results. We just need another hook. I don't know what that is yet. Another piece of information from somebody. Then we get a phone call. That's very interesting. Very interesting indeed.
It's been 2 weeks since police drove up Gold Camp Road and found the lifeless body of teenage runaway Maggie Fetty.
This is a case involving the loneliest, sad. She is truly alone. In the middle of 300 million people. Who could kill a child violently and personally? If they'll do this to this child, what else will they do?
Lieutenant Joe Kenda has 2 friends of the victim in custody.
Let's go.
Jill Yousef and Melinda Stewart. Both claim to have witnessed the crime firsthand. They saw the other strangle the teenager.
They are telling stories that are the reverse of each other. Which one is true? I don't know. They stay under arrest until we learn more about this.
Finally, on December 17th, detectives receive a tip that could jumpstart the investigation. They get a call from a woman by the name of Penny Rhodes.
She now wants to talk to the police about what she knows about this.
Penny, who claims that her father was the anonymous tipster, says that she recently spoke to Melinda's husband, Sergeant Dan Stewart.
He did tell her that he had destroyed some of the evidence. some of the clothing that was worn by the two individuals on the night of the murder.
I'm looking out for us. I'm looking out for her. I will take care of everything. Everything's fine.
Burnt all the clothing Melinda wore, all the clothing that Jill wore. It was all gone. Everything.
How is it going to be okay?
Because I took care of everything. Everything's
You
okay.
took care of everything.
If no one said anything, then no one would ever know anything.
It's an eye-opening statement, one Sergeant Stewart neglected to mention in his interview. For Kenda, it's also ample cause to book the sergeant for conspiracy after the fact, a rare charge for men of...
Guy's a sergeant in the United States Army, leader of men, and he is destroying evidence in a murder case. He's accepting a leadership role in a criminal enterprise. He is a liar that has talked to us on more than one occasion. So I'm not only going to arrest him, we're going to confront him.
We arranged for him to come up and be interviewed again. We didn't tell him about the warrant deliberately.
I told you guys.
You've left out quite a bit. We know a lot more than you realize.
Kenda immediately starts asking about Penny Rhodes.
She filled in a lot of details that you failed to mention.
I said she talked to you, didn't she, Dan? And you told her some things. Remember that, Danny? Something you might have overlooked when we talked to you the first time?
And you could see a little evidence that he was now aware that he needs to start talking.
Sergeant Stewart confesses that shortly after Melinda and Jill came home that night, each woman pulled him aside and informed him of Maggie's murder.
They weren't just playing it. She got in the car. No,
Both claiming that the other was responsible. Not knowing who to believe, Stewart collected their clothes and burnt the evidence, all to keep his wife out of trouble.
I didn't want Jill, so I burned their clothes.
You burned evidence to a murder.
And he said, all I did was that. I destroyed that evidence, yes, but I didn't do anything else. Well, Dan, in your case, that's going to be enough. You're under arrest for accessory to crime. So now we've moved from 2 to 3 people in custody, and we still don't know what happened.
Is there anything else you want to tell us, Dan?
Kenda pressed someone else who was at the apartment that Saturday night. Someone who might be able to corroborate Stewart's statement. That's when Stewart blurts out a name. One police haven't heard yet.
He said, well, Silas Nelson was there. Who's he? Well, he's a kid I know in the Army. He's getting out of the Army next month.
Stewart explains that Silas Nelson is a fellow soldier stationed at Fort Carson. But the moment Sergeant Stewart mentions Silas Nelson, he begins to backtrack. Silas wasn't at his house the night of the crime.
Silas Nelson was not there when the girls went out, when they came back, all that sort of thing. He wasn't around.
For Stewart, it's a slip of the tongue. For Kenda, it's the clue he's been searching for.
You listen very, very carefully when people talk. It's one thing to lie. It's very, very difficult to lie consistently. Might be subtle, but they're there. I said, you've always been saying how you didn't know anything about this. And you've always been lying, Danny. You've always been lying.
Kenda sends Sergeant Stewart off for booking and sets out in search of Silas Nelson, hoping the soldier can offer something, anything to bring the investigation back to life. Little does Kenda realize this long-shot witness is about a month in the making.
After all of this, repeated conversations and accusations and so on, we finally get to the bottom of this. This time, it's the truth.
Nearly a month into the search for Maggie Fetty's killer, Joe Kenda has made 3 arrests, but little progress.
We have to know the truth, and we're not getting it yet.
The crime's 2 prime suspects, Jill Yousef and Melinda Stewart, are still pointing fingers at each other.
You've got 2 women under arrest and in custody. We have them accusing each other of doing that. Do we know who's right? No. We're still at the point of who else can we talk to here?
Melinda Stewart's husband, Sergeant Dan Stewart, has admitted to destroying the clothes the women were wearing the night of the crime. But just before heading off to jail, Sergeant Stewart let slip the name of another possible eyewitness. A fellow soldier by the name of Silas Nelson.
was provided by Mr. Catlin as an individual that they somewhat hung out with, that had been at their apartment.
Detectives track down Silas Nelson at Fort Carson Army Base and begin to question him.
How you doing? I'm Lieutenant Joe.
Problem here. We've been working a case for several weeks involving some people you know. Daniel Stewart, Melinda Stewart, and Jill. Oh yeah, I know them all.
Nelson tells Kenda that contrary to Dan Stewart's statement, he was at the Stewart's place the night of the murder.
Sir, I actually stayed the whole weekend.
I was there the whole time and never left. So you were there Saturday night? Yes? And you were there Sunday all day?
Shocking revelation, one that calls Sergeant Stewart's whole statement into question.
We asked Nelson, were you there when they came back? No, I went to bed, so I wasn't up when they came home. No. But, boy, I was there before they left. What do you mean? They had quite a conversation. Please continue, Mr. Nelson.
They're talking about this girl. You know what girl they were talking about?
He says the girls start yapping about Maggie. Maggie is causing them problems, and they're tired of Maggie, and I'm listening to them. And I'm kind of not believing what I'm hearing, but they're talking about killing her.
And exactly what did they say?
If Nelson is telling the truth, then Maggie's murder wasn't the work of either Jill or Melinda. It was the two of them, conspiring together.
And he had a lot of information to put these two parties as part of the conspiracy to commit this crime.
But according to Nelson, Jill and Melinda weren't the only ones talking about killing Maggie.
How would you strangle somebody?
Within minutes, Sergeant Stewart and Sergeant Catlin both joined the conversation.
And he thought it was just a joke. But he said the more I listened, the more I realized they were serious.
You guys want to kill somebody? I'm going to show you how to kill somebody.
According to assisted in the cover-up of Maggie Fetty's murder, he and Catlin helped orchestrate it as well.
Go ahead.
You are an active participant in the planning of the event, and that makes you chargeable for the crime. You are in this up to your neck.
For Kenda, there are still two lingering questions. Who strangled and why? After upgrading Sergeant Stewart's charges to murder, Kenda has Sergeant Catlin arrested, then grills him for answers.
All right, James. We're all done playing games now.
We tell him, this is your opportunity, Catlin, because you're going to go down for this crime. We know a lot more than we did the last time we spoke. Tell us what you know. Everything I told you up to now, throw it all away. I lied about everything.
Maggie was a bad influence, all right?
Sergeant Catlin admits that along with Jill and Melinda, he and Sergeant Stewart knowingly conspired to kill Maggie Fetty.
He openly admitted every one of them had a benefit with the death of Maggie.
According to Sergeant Catlin, Maggie was heavily into drugs. Maggie's destructive Melinda.
He said she got Jill involved in drugs. I didn't like it when Jill was involved in drugs, so I had no use for Maggie. She would get Melinda involved in drugs, and Dan had no use for that.
Full of surprises.
Sergeant Catlin claims that he tried to shut Maggie out of Jill and Melinda's lives.
You guys into this?
But with Maggie feeding their nut to break. Then, just a few days prior to the murder, Maggie gave Jill a tab of LSD that was nearly fatal.
Maggie gets something different for Jill, and Jill gets really sick.
Fine, you can breathe. Stewart! Look at me. Calm down.
They are infuriated by this.
What happened to Maggie?
We were getting tired of her being around, you know?
According to get even with Maggie, and when they revealed their plan to kill Maggie, the two sergeants jumped at the notion and even gave advice on the best way to do it.
Why don't you show us, tough guy?
No, I can show you what to do.
He gets this ace bandage, and then Dan and he show the girls how to use it. Stood behind them, showed them how to put pressure, showed them how to pull somebody down using it. After they do that, they decide they're going to go get Maggie They're going to take her up on a Gold Camp Road and they're going to kill her.
As for who physically strangled the teenager, Sergeant Catlin claims that Melinda did the honors.
James ultimately stated that Melinda had told him she was the one who had done the strangling. She's the one that pulled on the ligature and killed Maggie.
For Kenda, it's the key to the whole case, one that finally unlocks the truth about Maggie Fetty.
All this information, all these interviews we discover, we're back to almost the original story. They go up on a Gold Camp Road. We now know Jill's driving the car, Melinda's in the backseat. Melinda attacks this girl from behind. Jill is a participant in this crime. She's not trying to save Maggie. When Maggie dies, Jill and Melinda take her out of the car, away the evidence, return to the apartment.
Ultimately, district attorneys arrive at the same conclusion and prosecute all 4 co-conspirators to the fullest extent of the law.
The evidence was sufficient to show that they all planned it.
They all knew what was going to happen, and they were all involved in it. They were all equally guilty.
But in exchange for reduced against her co-conspirators,
the charge she pled guilty to was second-degree murder, with the stipulated sentence to 48 years in the Colorado Department of Corrections.
Sergeant James Catlin strikes a similar deal, receiving 30 years for second-degree murder. Jill Yousef maintains her innocence all the way to trial.
The jury found her not guilty of murdering Maggie Fetty, but did find her guilty of accessory to murder.
Prison on the accessory charge. The outcome of Sergeant Daniel Stewart's trial is far different from Jill's.
The jury convicted him of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder.
It's the kind of courtroom victory that usually finds Kenda shaking hands with the victims' families, but not Maggie Fetty's.
After she was dead, there were, what about my daughter? What are we doing? How do we know what happened? Nothing. No inquiries from the concerned relatives, because there aren't any. We could say to ourselves, we did the right thing here. We wanted to do something right for her. We were just too late to save her life, but we took punishment against those who took her life.
When the time comes to lay Maggie to rest, no one shows up to handle her funeral arrangements. Kenda and his fellow lawmen do it themselves.
We chipped in and we bought her a headstone. One should at least have evidence of their passing.
For Joe Kenda, the headstone is a reminder of what.
I couldn't stop a murder. I couldn't undo one. What's done is done. But I could certainly find the person responsible and make sure that at least they weren't going to do it again.
Society has a way of ignoring the most vulnerable. But when it comes to murder, nobody slips through the cracks. Not a culprit, and certainly not Maggie Fetty.
Can we change this? Can we bring Maggie back? No. Can we at least salute her at the end of the day? Yeah, we can do that. At least she'll have that. Because she certainly didn't have anything else.
A young mother of 3 shot and killed.
I don't have a suspect. I have a
peaceful neighborhood shaken to the core.
I could have been shot.
Evidence is thin and motive non-existent.
You were looking into that black tunnel that there was no end to.
Until Lieutenant Joe Kenda uncovers a sordid web of lust and greed.
You son of a bitch. Gunned down a housewife and mother? Better stand by, my friend. Start looking over your shoulder.
September 12th, 1990. It's an unseasonably warm evening in Otis Park, a small recreational center in the Nob Hill neighborhood of Colorado Springs. A meeting for the Women's Lupus Support Group is just getting started.
Sometimes we had about 40 people. Sometimes we had 5. It was a fun meeting, and we had refreshments, and we're socializing, and that sort of thing.
22-year-old mother of 3, Diane Hood.
Thank you all for all your support.
She was a sweetheart. Pretty girl. Always, wanting to help set up programs and work with us.
Just 18 months earlier, soon after her 3rd child was born, Diane was diagnosed with lupus.
It's an autoimmune problem where your body immune system attacks certain organs.
So, who's gonna pick up the...
Very devastating.
But Diane is a fighter, and it's not long before she's on the verge of remission.
Diane is feeling really, really good. I told her story.
I know you've noticed I'm a little bit better.
It was really a good meeting for her.
You look great. Thank you. Next week.
At 8:30 p.m., the meeting lets up. Diane says goodbye and walks out with her friend, Karen Johnson.
They're in a city crime-free part of town. The furthest thought from your mind is that right outside that door, death is waiting.
Sarah is about to head home when her night takes a horrifying turn. A dark figure bangs on the door.
God, what's going on?
It's Karen Johnson, and her hands are covered in blood.
Karen came flying back into the building. And she was just... Karen's yelling, Diane's been shot. Diane's been shot.
But Sarah has no time to process this information. As a registered nurse, instinct takes over, and she quickly moves into action.
I automatically ran out the door, never thinking that I could have been shot too, but it never even occurred to me. That's just automatic for a nurse. That's what you do.
Just outside, Sarah finds Diane lying in a pool of blood.
We turned her over on her eyes were open. She was gasping for breath, and as I started the compressions...
Hang on, Diane!
The blood came through my fingers.
Diane, listen to me!
So we did CPR and called paramedics.
Within minutes, EMTs arrive on the scene and take over for Sarah. But the situation is bleak.
She had 2 major gunshot wounds. One entered from the back on the shoulder and exited the front of the shoulder. Just came to rest in the second arm.
Diane is rushed to a nearby hospital, but it's too late. At 8:52 p.m., Diane Hood is pronounced dead.
It was just so hard to believe that that kind of thing could happen. It just didn't seem quite right.
The brutal death of this good-natured mother of 3 sends shockwaves throughout this normally...
That park was an extremely unusual event. In that neighborhood, things didn't happen like that.
Less than 30 minutes after the first shot was fired, Homicide Detective Lieutenant Joe Kenda arrives on the scene.
Gentlemen, hey, Jane, how you doing?
When I get there's a small blood stain in the parking lot. Some witnesses and a bunch of police officers. The initial report is that it's an armed robbery. So you begin, tell me about this neighborhood. Are there armed robberies in this neighborhood? Are there parolees recently released from prison with a record for armed robbery? Nothing. No such crimes. No such events.
What do you got for me?
Well, apparently the witness was with the victim.
Kenda turns to eyewitness Karen Johnson, still visibly shaken by the incident.
It took some deal of time to calm down Karen Johnson because, of course, she just witnessed this horrible event where a friend was killed. But once that occurred, only witness to this crime. And that's really important.
Tell me exactly what you saw.
It happened so fast. We were walking to our car and...
Karen recalls that she and Diane were on their way to the parking lot when they suddenly heard footsteps from behind.
One figure came from the east side of the building, dressed in dark clothing, wearing a ski mask and wearing camouflage pants, and accosted Diane Hood.
Oh my God!
Went for her purse. Diane turned and let go of her purse.
According to Karen, Diane tried to run, but the man grabbed her arm and pulled out a large handgun.
He shoots her once, hits her high in the shoulder, and knocks her down.
Diane begged for her life, but the man fired again, straight into her chest.
It was just a walk up and run off. Everything pointed to a robbery that had gone bad for whatever reason.
Kenda asks Karen to describe what the shooter looked like. but all she remembers is that he was slightly shorter than her.
Give me a call anytime.
No race, no exposed skin. Can't tell us white, Hispanic, black. Can't tell eye color. We have a physical description of a person who can't be identified.
Kenda instructs his team to comb the surrounding area for trace evidence the shooter may have left behind.
A lot of times robbery suspects, they have two things. They have a plan to get away, or they're going to wing it. That means they really don't know exactly where they're going to go as they're leaving the scene.
Hoping his suspect may still be lurking in the area, Kenda enlists the help of his canine unit.
So that officer arrives, canine officer, and he works the area where the shooter was standing, and the dog locks on a scent. Off they go. The dog continues on his track for almost a mile, into the housing areas, through alleys. The dog gets to a garbage can behind a private residence, and the dog sits down.
Yes.
There's something in this can.
Inside the garbage can, Kenda makes a crucial discovery.
An olive drab field jacket, pair of gloves, a black ski mask, and camouflage pants. These items match the description given by the witness at the scene.
Looks like we got the shooter's clothes here.
Once the clothing is removed, goes to the laboratory to process. They find brown human hair inside the ski mask. Ran a gunshot residue test on the gloves, and they tested positive. So this is our stuff worn by the shooter. No question. The dog continues the track from the trash can, comes to the curb line of a street, and stops. The dog is now confused and working in circles.
Hey, Lieutenant, we lost the scent.
Well, it went into a car, in our opinion. The scent disappears because the scent drives away.
Kenda's only promising lead has just hit a dead end, and so has his case.
We could have a lot of problems solving this because we don't have anywhere to go. You were looking into that black tunnel that there was no end to.
I don't have a suspect of a masked maniac. So where's that leave me? Out in the cold.
But as Kenda soon discovers, it's the victim herself that will provide the key to this investigation.
So here I am, looking for the masked man, the Lone Ranger, as it were. That's not going to be very useful. So let's get to what is useful. Diane Elaine Hood. Everything about Diane Elaine Hood. Everything. Because somewhere in her life, she encountered someone who wants her dead.
Mother of three, Diane Hood, has been shot and killed during an armed robbery gone horribly wrong. The canine unit helps Lieutenant Joe Kenda track down the clothes worn by the shooter, but not the shooter himself.
They're always hopeful that the dog will go up on somebody's porch and sit down. Not the case this time.
With no other substantial leads, Kenda and his team turn to an old-fashioned police technique: neighborhood canvassing.
Take the Ritz.
It was pretty much a tedious start south of the park and work our way north 4 blocks east and west, knocking on every door, seeing who was home, seeing if they knew anything.
Just as the neighborhood search seems hopeless, detectives encounter a woman with some new information.
During our neighborhood follow-up, we reveal this guy named David Barnes.
And I can probably guarantee he had something to do with it.
What if he could have done this crime? He lives in the area. He has problems. He has issues.
What's more, locals have given him another, more sinister nickname:
Homicidal Dave. Interesting, we happen to be in the homicide business. Who is this guy?
We had information that he wore the military-style camouflage pants and uniform, and since we had found that uniform in the neighborhood, that gave us something to look at.
He was a veteran of the spoke loudly to no one walking around the neighborhood, using strings of profanity for no apparent reason. They saw him as dangerous, crazy, all those sorts of things.
Detectives follow up on the lead, but quickly learn the suspect, known as Homicidal Dave, has an airtight alibi.
But we know where Dave is the night of the murder.
Right, absolutely.
He was with some friends and some other people, and we confirmed it. So he gets eliminated as a result.
We were at a area of the investigation that really didn't have any direct leads to go on. But that's the next step, is to take what you have and expand it.
Expanding the investigation means revisiting all of the eyewitness testimony, starting with the primary witness, Karen Johnson. As he reads through Karen's description of how the killer shot Diane Hood, Kenda picks up on a telltale piece of evidence.
She says, and she's quite clear about this, he shot her in the shoulder, and then he walked up to her and shot her in the chest. That, in my mind, is critical information.
Kenda now believes that Diane Hood was intentionally targeted by her killer.
This is not an armed robbery. Dead. But it isn't dead. It's an assassination.
But Kenda still doesn't know who murdered this innocent mother of three. So he turns to the forensic evidence for additional clues.
After Diane was pronounced dead at the hospital, her body was escorted to the El Paso County morgue. During the autopsy, 2 bullets are recovered from her body.
Kenda has a more detailed analysis.
Our ballistics man was one of the best in the country. He called me that same morning and he said, Kenda, you are a lucky guy.
Right.
Because you're looking for a very rare and valuable gun. A Colt Peacemaker patent 1872 single-action Army revolver. It's the cowboy gun, the one you've all seen in the movies. Wow. I love limiting factors, and that is a huge limiting factor.
The lab also informs Kenda that this rare gun is worth thousands of dollars and known to be sold at antique gun shows.
It could mean that the person responsible for this crime is a collector of guns.
The unique model of the murder weapon is a key detail, but that's all it is.
Interesting pieces of evidence. But I need a person.
Whenever you have a homicide investigation, you're going to do background on almost everybody involved, including the victim.
As Kenda and his team look into the life of Diane Hood, they find nothing that would raise any red flags.
Diane is the salt of the earth. She is a wonderful mother. She's a devoted housewife. But that's not leading me anywhere. We're still at the stage of trying to find a suspect.
Needing someone connected to the victim, Kenda turns to the victim's husband, Brian Hood, hoping he might provide some much-needed insight into this case.
He is grieving over the loss of his wife. He's trying to arrange a burial. His family is there. His kids are upset. We say, hey, we know it's a difficult time, hopeful, without you even realizing it.
Brian agrees to accompany Kenda to the station. Looking into his background, Brian's life appears to be as idyllic as his wife's.
Brian had been a college quarterback. Diane had been a college cheerleader. And that's how they met. This was an upstanding American family that everybody dreams about.
Beyond being a devoted husband and father, Brian Hood is extremely well-liked by his neighbors and business colleagues.
Easy to get to know, and he's a very good family man.
Anybody that saw Brian was impressed with his physique. He was a football player in college in Texas, probably 6'4", 220 pounds, all muscle.
It's Brian's physical stature that helps Kenda eliminate him as a suspect.
We know that our shooter is shorter than 5'9". So obviously, Brian is not the shooter.
As Kenda talks further with the victim's husband, he takes this case in a totally new direction.
How often go to the gym? I'd say I go about 4 or 5 times a week.
I'm kind of addicted to working out. And I go to a gym, and I go there almost every day. So we go to the gymnasium where he says he goes. We talk to 2 young girls at the desk.
Hey, ladies, doing today?
Good, how are you?
In the Colorado Springs Police Department. I need to ask you a couple questions.
We learned from these girls there's one particular client that they spend a lot of time talking to each other. And who is that? Well, it's this girl named Jennifer.
The girls at reception can't remember Jennifer's last name, but they do know she works at a nearby flower shop.
We're talking to the owner. He says, I do have that girl working here.
She's a great employee.
I know her, and I know her husband. They go to my church. What's her last name? Reale. Her husband's name is Benjamin. He's a captain in the Army at Fort Carson, and he's an intelligence...
The shop owner then provides some unexpected information about Benjamin Reale.
I like Ben, and he and I have a common interest.
We both have gun collections.
Gun collections? Antique guns. We like to collect antique guns. Could Ben be our shooter? Could he have done this? Of course he could. So we need to look into this guy.
It's a solid lead, but Kenda also knows there are miles to go.
Murder cases have one great similarity. You're always probing. You poke a murder case. You're poking around in the dark, because when you poke, you're waiting for something or someone to say ouch. And if it's ouch, it could be.
Young mother of three, Diane Hood, has been brutally murdered outside her lupus support meeting in Otis Park. And Lieutenant Joe Kenda has just discovered his first viable suspect, Captain Benjamin Reale, an Army officer who collects antique guns. Like the Colt 45 piece.
If we can determine a person of interest that's connected to this, who somehow owns such a gun, wow, that would be good, wouldn't it? Yes, it would.
What's more, Ben's wife, Jennifer, is a known friend and workout partner of Brian Hood, the victim's husband. Now, Kenda and his team wonder, could this innocent friendship have led Ben Reale to shoot Diane Hood?
That was a jump on our part, based on the fact that they're hanging out together. They're seen at the gym. Jealous lover. It could have been somebody just mad at him, trying to do vindictive things towards his family. There could be some motive developed there.
Kenda looks into Ben's personal life and learns an interesting detail. Ben Reale works at Fort Carson as a criminal investigator for the U.S. Army. As a soldier, he would have expert knowledge in the business of killing, and as an investigator, he would know how to get away with it.
The reality is also that the clothing recovered Reale was a captain at the military intelligence unit at Fort Carson, so there's a nexus there that could these be his clothing.
Ben's records show he is approximately 5'9" and 160 pounds. A physical description similar to the one Karen Johnson gave of the shooter.
So off we go to Fort Carson. Ben's in his office working. Doesn't know we're coming. With a startled look on his face.
We're looking into the murder of Diane Hood. Can you tell us where you were that night?
You can see the wheels turning. What is going on here?
When Kenda informs Ben of the investigation, he immediately goes on the defensive.
I was working by myself.
But Ben has no witnesses to support his alibi.
We also want to find out what kind of firearms he may have or have access to see if they could be something that were used in the murder.
Admits to owning several antique guns, including one very valuable piece.
My dad gave it to me. It's the best piece I have in my collection.
It's a Colt 45 Peacemaker.
It's a Colt single-action Army Peacemaker, patent 1872.
Ben owns the exact type of gun the ballistics team identified as the murder weapon.
Could this guy be the suspect? Could this be the weapon involved? Obviously, our first intent would be to lock.
Ben takes Kenda to where the weapon is stored.
Ben has a look of complete confusion on his face, as well as concern.
This is my gun.
He presents this gun wrapped in a red shop rag.
This is the one.
There it is. Colt Peacemaker, single-action Army. Exactly what I'm looking for.
The only problem is, the gun reeks of cleaning fluid.
We were not able to recover any fingerprint. Hoping that smoking gun has all the evidence on it. It doesn't always work that way.
All right, we need to take this to the lab and have a test fired.
In the meantime, he's not finished with Ben just yet.
Listen, we need to go to our office. I have some other things I want you to look at. And he turned white.
To bring Ben Reale up to do the interview here on our police headquarters unit puts him out of his element, puts him in our element. Put him on our turf, it's better for
downtown, while his Colt Peacemaker is sent to the lab for testing.
Tell him put it priority. I have a potential suspect in my possession. And the identity of that weapon is going to make the arrest or not.
Ben is seated in an interview room where Kenda lays out the shooter's clothes for him to examine.
Look familiar to you? No.
He takes a side glance for a half a second. He says, no, I don't recognize him. They didn't look at him. I said, Ben, you didn't even look at these. I not only expect you to look at them, I expect you to examine them. Because at a minimum, I'm going to call your commanding officer and end your military career overnight. Or at a maximum, I'm going to arrest you for murder. You want to try this again? And he starts to cry.
Ben admits that the shooter's military fatigues are in fact his. And he has offer that matches the ballistics expert's description of the murder weapon.
These are your clothes. And these are the clothes were used in the murder.
I think we're in it now. We're not just in the right ballpark. We're in the right two seats. And I was feeling pretty pleased.
His sights on a confession, Kenda presses Ben about the shooter's clothes.
Where did you last see this coat and those pants? Was it at my house? And when was that? Well, I haven't been living there for 3 weeks. But the last time I saw them, that's where they were.
We've been fighting.
Ben explains that he's recently been having marital issues with his wife.
Please, can you just...
We've been having problems. I moved out 3 weeks ago. I've been staying on post.
I'm done talking.
Sensing there's more to his story, Kenda urges the anguished army captain to continue. Everyone.
My wife brought the gun in today to my job.
Well, my wife brought a gun in here this morning. One of my guns, wrapped in a rag, and said she wanted me to keep it for her.
What do you have my gun for?
Just take it. Don't ask questions.
You mean don't ask questions?
I don't care what
A couple of weeks ago, she wanted to shoot it. So I took her out to the range, and I bought a box of ammunition, and I showed her how to load it and how to unload it, and she fired it a number of times. So he goes from a person of interest to a key witness. He has a gun in his possession, given to him by his wife. It just fit for me right away. You think back to that witness. It wasn't important to me at the time, but now I'm thinking about it. What did he do with... He put it over his arm. That fact blasted back into my head. He put it over his arm, like a woman would do.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda has just eliminated Ben Reale as a suspect and replaced him with a brand new one.
When he told me that his wife brought him a gun, we're not looking for a guy. We're looking for a woman.
It's been nearly 48 hours since the young mother of three, Diane Hood, was brutally murdered. And Lieutenant Joe Kenda's first suspect, Captain Benjamin Reale, has just... His wife, Jennifer Reale, recently handed him a freshly cleaned Colt .45 revolver. Kenda has just eliminated one prime suspect for another.
We're not looking for a guy. We're looking for a woman wearing a ski mask. And maybe her name is Jennifer.
But what motive would Jennifer Reale have to murder Diane Hood? Kenda needs to find out.
She's a graduate of the University of Washington. She has 2 children, both girls. She is well regarded by her friends. Very nice person.
On paper, the young mother does not fit the portrait of a cold-blooded killer.
Generally, it's a male on male or male on female, domestic violence. To have a female go out there and basically execute Diane.
Jennifer Reale is brought down to the station.
I want to see my husband.
That's where I'm taking it right now.
Kenda has a hunch that the couple's rocky relationship may provoke Jennifer to tip her hand.
You just need to get your clothes back.
They go into a room.
What is going on?
Ben, I didn't do anything.
They're in there for 30, 40 minutes, yelling and screaming at each other.
What does that have to do with the gun?
I hate this marriage.
I don't know what they said to each other, and I don't care at this point. And I'm waiting for that phone to ring from the lab, and it's not ringing.
It's clear from their body language, Jennifer and Ben are not co-conspirators. Ben is struggling with the possibility that his wife may be a murderer.
I didn't kill anybody, okay?
Just then, the phone rings.
This is Kenda.
It's the ballistics lab, calling with news about Ben Reale's gun.
Kenda, that's your gun. To the exclusion of all guns on the planet. It's the one who killed Diane Hood. Turned to two of my detectives, canceled her dinner plans. Tell her she's under arrest for first-degree murder.
Mr. Reale, please put your hands behind you. No.
Please, we need you to calm down.
Hey, sit up. Get out.
Ben tries to grab her away from him. He just reacts. We slam him in a chair, and I put my hands on his face. You're not part of this yet. You need to think about taking care of your children, not going to jail.
As detectives escort Ben out of the room, he looks at his wife one last time, only to see she's been placed in handcuffs.
Jennifer.
Now it's time from Benjamin Reale to Jennifer Reale.
During that conversation, she denies.
I didn't kill anybody.
She denied any knowledge of the shooting or the robbery or anything that had happened.
As detectives watch from the next room, Kenda ratchets up the pressure.
We have the clothes you wore the night of the murder. We have the murder weapon. We know that you brought it to your husband this morning.
Jennifer doesn't react well to being cornered in control of things.
Tell me why you killed her.
Stop that.
She doesn't like the way we're asking questions because we're becoming more and more confrontational. How do you explain this? How do you explain your husband's gun being used in a murder that you had in your possession at the time?
But Jennifer has a quick answer. She says the gun must have been stolen.
Do you realize how ludicrous that is? Somebody breaks into your house, takes a gun, uses it in a murder, and puts it back in your house. Offense to this.
Get it off your conscience.
More than an hour into questioning, Jennifer's strong exterior begins to crumble.
No.
She has the look of a caged animal. It just comes to the moment when she realizes that there is no way out of this.
I did it.
She finally says, okay, I killed her.
Just like that, Kenda gets what every homicide investigator hopes for, a confession. Jennifer describes in detail how she committed the brutal crime.
She openly admitted to shooting Diane Hood. The plan was to wait outside the community center till she came out and make it look like a robbery, which is what happened.
For Kenda, Jennifer's confession has seemingly made this an open and shut case. But what she says next leads Kenda to believe someone else in Hood, and the architect of the plot is still at large.
Jennifer says, I killed her. But it wasn't my idea. How interesting. So when you get to the truth, a very clear picture emerges. Murder by design. "28-year-old Jennifer Reale has just confessed to shooting mother of three Diane Hood. But what Lieutenant Joe Kenda can't figure out is why. That is until Jennifer makes a statement that throws the entire homicide division for a loop. She finally says, okay, I killed her. My idea. Excuse me. Well, for the past 8 months, I've been having an affair with Brian Hood. Jennifer explains that in early 1990, she met the victim's husband, Brian Hood, at the fitness center, where Jennifer and Brian frequently worked out.
They were in a hot tub at one time together talking. those flirtatious ways started to draw her in. And that's her real development.
By early spring, the innocent flirtation had escalated to a full-blown affair.
It started out small and it got very big very quick. And we were falling in love with each other.
They had a fairly substantial affair that seemed to take place mostly at Jennifer's when Ben Reale was not in town.
Jennifer, they had sex and where they had it. The first time he made love to her was on top of the washing machine in her house. Then it was in her Jeep Cherokee. Very specific about all the details of her involvement with Brian.
Tell me about this affair. Or tell me why you did.
According to Jennifer, Brian painted a merciful picture about how killing Diane would end her suffering.
His wife had lupus, and she was going to die anyway. He had an insurance policy on his wife for $100,000, and it was a double indemnity policy that if she were to be murdered, he would pay $200,000.
How, Brian?
For a period of months, he discussed with me wife killed. He talked about trying to hire a hitman. He talked about making left-hand turns in the face of oncoming traffic so she would be killed when the car struck the passenger side.
Eventually, Brian decided a staged robbery would be the best way to have Diane killed. And Jennifer should be the one to do it.
He says to her at one point, "We've already committed the sin, and the sin of murder is no worse." Really?
There's no other choice.
She indicated that she cared so much about him that anything that he told her to do, she would do. That he was her whole life at that time.
She says that is based on passages from the Bible. That this is all going to be okay, and if she repents her sins after having killed his wife for him, she won't suffer going to hell. He further says to Jennifer that this armed robbery plan is going to work because the police are stupid, and they will believe that this is an armed robbery, and they will be for resist. He uses this as his final method of convincing her that this plan is going to work. They're going to get the money and live happily ever after.
Jennifer tells Kenda that for more than 3 months, Brian pressured her to help kill his wife. Finally, on the night of September 12th, Jennifer agreed to go through with it.
She presents a damning picture. Involved in this, he's the architect of the plot.
That doesn't stop Kenda from throwing Jennifer behind bars.
We put her in the El Paso County Jail, held without bond for first-degree murder.
Kenda prepares an arrest warrant and heads back to the home of Brian Hood.
We handcuff Brian and we throw him in jail.
You're under arrest for first-degree murder. Turn up the chains behind your back, sir.
For conspiracy to commit first-degree, solicitation to commit first-degree murder, and first-degree murder. 3 charges.
Kenda worries that Jennifer's testimony may not be enough to convict Brian, and a jury may see this as a case of fatal attraction.
If all we had was Jennifer, we have a case of he said and she said. Those are very difficult for juries to discern.
However, as news of Brian's friends, a bartender named Frank Patton comes forward with damning information.
I'm asking about his wife and his kids, and he just said, "I just wish he'd die and get it over with.
I wish my wife was dead."
Less than a week after that conversation, Diane Hood was murdered in cold blood. Fearing for his own life, Frank Patton tells police what Brian said.
His friends were afraid of him. Wife. Their immediate thought is, if he could do that, he could do me too. I have to call the police. Excellent. Our phones are open.
As the tips roll in from more of Brian's associates, it becomes clear that he was only using his wife's disease as an excuse to justify murder.
This is not a case of fatal attraction. This is a case of Brian Hood pressuring his friends until he found one that would do his bidding. Now, we have a case, and the matter's going to proceed to trial.
Brian maintains his innocence throughout, but as more witnesses come forward, his case begins to crumble.
We get the family doctor. The doctor says, I told Diane she had the mildest form of lupus with medication, and she should have no difficulty living a normal life. And Brian was clearly aware of that. Brian says to Jennifer and to anyone else that'll listen to him, including the people that testified, she's going to die anyway. No, she's not. And he knows it.
More than a year after Diane Hood was shot and killed, a jury finds Brian Hood guilty on 2 counts of criminal solicitation and 1 count of conspiracy to murder his wife. However, on the charge of first-degree murder, Brian Hood is found not guilty. Instead of life in prison, Brian is sentenced to 37 years.
He's paying the price, but he's not paying the price he should be paying. I think he got away with murder.
In a separate trial 3 months later, Jennifer Reale pleads insanity, claiming she had... But the jury does not buy her plea, and she is found guilty on both charges.
First-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Sentenced to life without parole at Colorado State Penitentiary. When we were preparing Jennifer to be taken to jail, I said, Jennifer, I have one last question for you. Do you think the police are stupid? She didn't answer me. I don't know why.
It really was satisfying to know that we had basically stood in Diane's shoes after she couldn't defend herself anymore, and we were able to get justice for her when she couldn't do it for herself.
The trials are over, but the lives of 2 families have been irrevocably changed.
It was just an extreme sadness about what it did to not just the Hood family, but the Reale family. The consequences, implications that last for generations.
The question remains, what would lead a successful father of 3 to murder the mother of his own children?
I mean, why not get a divorce and not end up, having your wife killed? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Human nature at its worst. Among people who have no reason to behave that way. Often heard the comment, what does a murderer look like? Well, as it turns out, it looks like the cute mom next door.
One sister loved the home life.
She is a churchgoer and a devoted wife.
One sister loved the nightlife.
Carla says to Mona, your life is boring. There's more to life than watching television.
Both were murdered in cold blood.
That many times. Whoever was the shooter was a very angry person.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda must delve into the sisters' darkest secrets.
There's something I'm not understanding. There's a hole in the story. I know it's there, and I know it's missing, but I just can't decide what it is.
Can police track down a determined killer before it's too late?
He's got 50 rounds of ammo. How is this going to end? Murder is in all of us. All of us are capable of killing our fellow humans with the proper motivation. The human mind is an immensely complicated thing, driven by emotion. And when the emotion gets high enough, the base instincts of humans take over.
5. It's Monday morning, and Cecil King has a problem on his hands. He's been trying to reach his daughter-in-law, Mona King. But Mona hasn't returned any of his calls.
He had been unable to reach his daughter-in-law by telephone, so he just came over to check the welfare.
When his daughter-in-law doesn't answer the door.
He couldn't see anything looking through windows, so he then went around to the back part of the house, looked through windows.
Finally, Cecil's eyes land on a shocking sight. A woman's body, motionless, on the kitchen floor.
So he went to another residence and called.
Not far away, Lieutenant Joe Kenda and his team are already hard at work.
I was sitting in my office with an entire team of detectives. We're going over a murder.
That's no problem. We're just going over the Rivera case. I think I'm going to have Magnera go back out to the neighborhood, re-canvass.
The phone call comes from the comm center that there's another murder.
It's Kenda.
So you hang up the phone, you look at everybody and say, well, this now moves to page 2. We have a new page 1. Let's go. When we get there, there's the usual activity going on. The neighbors are all out in the street trying to see what's going on.
What do we got?
The officer tells Kenda they found not one, but 2 bodies inside.
So our complainant comes around here.
In the kitchen is a female. She has multiple gunshot wounds to the head and chest.
How many bullet wounds?
I counted 5.
So whoever did this really wanted her dead.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Right away, Kenda spots a clue on the tile floor.
There are bloody shoe prints found near the body. The heel front, because it's an elevated heel. And the sole print is almost triangular, pointed on all sides. It's from a cowboy boot. A cowboy boot is very different than you would see from any other kind of shoe. They belong to our shooter.
Kenda moves on to the living room to examine victim number 2.
She also has multiple gunshot wounds of the chest and head.
How many bullet wounds?
Total 7 in the front and in the rear.
Well, when you see somebody's been shot that many times, he was a very angry person.
What do you estimate the time of death was?
I'd put it between 1:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m.
She has a purse over her left arm. There's a jacket in her right hand. And her keys are a few inches away from her hand. Is she coming home? Is she preparing to leave home? The position of the body would indicate coming in because her feet are toward the door and her head is toward the interior of the home.
These are the victims?
Yes, sir. Cecil King identified the bodies.
The body in the living room is Mona King, the owner of the house. In the kitchen is her sister, Carla Cannon.
It is unusual for multiple members of a family to be murdered at the same time. I've experienced it before, but it's not common.
Investigators scour the house for physical evidence and quickly strike gold.
Kitchen living room is a stereo console. There are casings in a little pile. Because of the number of them, a total of 12, it would indicate 2 guns.
Could 2 guns mean 2 shooters? Perhaps. But Kenda thinks it's more likely it was one shooter who came prepared.
He's not just a killer. He's a determined killer.
The fact that the casings are all in one place gives Kenda...
If a semi-automatic pistol is used, the casing is ejected when the shot is fired. They can be thrown quite a distance. They're not going to be in a little pile on top of a stereo console.
These were unloaded by hand from 2 revolvers. And what's particularly unusual, the casings are .22s.
A revolver in that caliber is not a common weapon. They were common in the stopped making them when semi-automatic pistols came into play. So the revolvers are unusual.
Could the shooter have been a burglar who broke in, only to discover there were 2 witnesses home?
There's no forced entry to the doors. There's cash on the counters in some of the bedrooms. There's valuables everywhere that are untouched. There are none of the indicative signs of burglary and theft. And the odds are, at this point, the only purpose for this entry is to kill these people.
Not sure what make and model. I don't know.
Detectives question the neighbors, looking for anything out of the ordinary.
Most of these people know what neighbors tend to know, which is nothing. But we do find one neighbor who says that she remembers on Sunday she saw a white van parked at the...
But one neighbor claims to have seen a different vehicle parked near Mona King's house the day of the murders.
She says she sees a blue pickup truck sitting in the driveway.
Kenda's new mission is to identify the drivers of these suspicious vehicles.
If you can find out who was in those vehicles, you can at least lock them into being at the crime scene at some point close to the time of death.
Thankfully, one who may have additional information about the shooting.
This is Wayne Lewis. I'm Detective Kenda. Hi. Is it true about Mona and Carla being dead? Unfortunately, it is. Did you know them? Yeah. We're just really good friends. Can you think of anyone that might want to harm either one of them? No.
As Kenda listens, he realizes Wayne Lewis is more of a concerned friend than a credible witness.
Well, if you can think how small it is, make sure you give me a call. Thank you.
Kenda returns to the question at hand. Who would want to murder both of these sisters?
In all of these kinds of cases where multiple deaths occur, it is unusual and often unlikely that each victim is an intended victim. More often than not, the other is collateral damage.
So which sister was the intended target? Kenda questions the man who discovered the bodies, Mona King's father-in-law, Cecil.
Cecil?
Yeah.
I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
I know this is very difficult for you, but I need to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
Kenda starts by asking Cecil about Mona's house guest.
And she'd been living with Ray and Mona until she figures out what to do next.
Prior to the divorce, 38-year-old Carla Cannon was a stay-at-home mom.
Carla is a receptionist at a local hospital which specializes in psychiatry.
They describe Carla as more of an outgoing type person, more so than Mona.
Carla was protective of her little sister.
Can you tell me?
Devoted mother, wife?
36-year-old Mona King, a former homecoming queen, had a career in real estate.
Mona was a staff appraiser at Otero Savings and Loan. She was sweet, helpful, and a lovely person. I can't say enough nice things about Mona.
Mona is the blouse button to the neck, loose blue jean, church-going lady.
Mona is married to Cecil's son.
Cecil says they've been married for 7 years. They've had some recent difficulties. They've been separated for several weeks.
You begin to wonder, well, what happened here? Where is the husband? Is he possibly involved?
Raymond's not here. Why is he not here? No one has to define what suspicious is. You know it when you see it.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda is investigating the murder of 36-year-old Mona King and her sister, 38-year-old Carla Cannon.
It was on the front page of the paper, and all it said was a double murder, and it gave the address. I said, well, that sounds like Mona's address. It was hard.
The sisters were found shot to death in Mona's house.
are sisters born and raised in a farm in Kansas, both very pretty girls, and certainly different in every regard. You have Carla, who is the party goer, and you have Mona, who is the churchgoer.
After Cecil King, Kenda has learned that Mona and her husband Raymond recently separated, which makes Raymond a potential suspect.
We asked Cecil, what does Ray do for a living? Well, Ray's an electrician. He works for a commercial electrical contractor. He's worked there for a number of years. They consider him to be an excellent employee.
Cecil also explains that Ray's been on vacation the past 2 weeks.
Ray has never had a problem with the law.
He has no record with us. None. He's never gotten a parking ticket. Perfectly clean record.
And Ray doesn't own any guns.
When I learn what limited facts I already know about Raymond King, nothing about him says he's a suspect in anything. He just doesn't fit the mold here.
So far, it's looking unlikely that younger sister Mona King was targeted for murder.
Her husband is a chiropractor in Grand Junction, Dr. Donald Cannon.
Carla had 2 children she doted on, 16-year-old Dennis and 15-year-old Danielle, but her relations with Donald were strained.
Cecil says that she and her husband weren't getting along.
I want you to go downtown with me, but if you don't, I'm not coming home
I'm not
tonight.
going downtown because guess what?
Of
I
course
have to
you're
work to pay these bills that obviously you don't have time to do.
She wanted out of the marriage. She wanted out of everything.
Carla had been invited by Mona to come live with her while she figured out what she was going to do next.
When Carla left Donald, it triggered what would become a bitter divorce.
The doctor was very upset about that and angry about it. Felt abandoned. Now that, in my mind, equals a very strong motive.
Lieutenant Kenda, dispatch.
21 Roger.
Yeah, I need you to contact Grand Junction PD and have them pick up Dr. Donald Cannon.
What if Donald recovers from the shock and then the anger starts and it begins to build? What if it simmers for 5 months and we drive down there from Grand Junction to get some retribution?
Miles away in Grand Junction, Colorado, local police track down Kenda's suspect.
When the Grand Junction police contact Donald, Donald is very angry with Carla. Very angry. Why are you so angry at Carla? Is it Carla that's the problem, or is it you, Donald?
So, Donald, what's the nature of your relationship with Carla?
She's my ex-wife. We were married about 20 years. We divorced last year. We had 2 kids together.
He and Carla fell out of love with each other. Carla liked to go out. She liked to dance. They fought about that.
Her husband, Donald, was much more conservative, and he preferred to want to stay home and not do those kinds of things.
She always said to him she wanted more out of life than he could offer, eventually leading to a divorce.
Do you honestly think that I murdered my wife?
But he insists he would never lay a hand on her, and he claims to have an alibi to back it up.
What do you have to say? Well, come to find out, he was at a conference in Salt Lake all weekend.
And he was at the Hotel Salt Lake the entire time?
He was.
How about the airline?
We did check with them.
He flew home on Sunday, and he was in the air during the time frame of his killing.
That is confirmed.
I really appreciate you doing that for me. Great.
I'm disappointed. What better motive than leaving a marriage in a lurch? But it's not him. So we have to dismiss that and start over. Who is it now?
Given that Mona King was a homebody and her sister was the opposite, Kenda continues to focus on Carla Cannon's life. Could a newly single Carla have met someone dangerous?
And the Central Station nightclub, a popular car that has a big dance floor.
What can I do for you? Do you know Carla Cannon?
Yeah, she comes in here.
Do you happen to know the names of the guys she hangs out with when she's here?
I'm a lot better with faces than I am with names. You got at the end of the bar. Seen them hanging out before.
That guy right there?
Mm-hmm.
The bartender saw the man hanging around Carla Saturday night, the night before.
Bingo. That didn't take long. So now we find ourselves talking to Jerry Norberg. He is a regular. He's a white guy in his 30s, middle 30s. Wears Western clothes.
Nice boots. Oh, thanks.
I'm looking at his boots and I'm thinking about boot prints at the...
Getting the murder of Carla Kenda and her sister Mona.
He said, I like Carla a lot. Carla's real nice. I consider her a pretty hot chick.
Can you tell me how you knew her? Oh, we met here. We started going out for a while, went out a few times, but it kind of fizzled out.
Jerry says on Saturday night, he tried to strike up a conversation with Carla, but she was giving him the cold shoulder.
Did you talk to her then? Well, I tried to, but...
The way Jerry tells the story is that he's pretty interested in Carla, but he also implies that Carla is not as interested in him as he would like her to be.
Could Jerry Nordberg have been jealous enough to confront Carla at the house? Did Mona have the misfortune to be home too?
It's possible, I suppose. It's unlikely, in my opinion. Nothing about his behavioral mannerisms alarm me. He makes strong eye contact with me. He is honest with me. He's not trying to protect himself from anything.
As Kenda prepares to leave, something Jerry says catches his attention.
I hate to hear that about those girls. Carla and Mona were really nice ladies. You knew Mona also? Oh, yeah. How'd you know her? Well, she used to come in here with Carla. Mona came in here also? Yeah.
I am really surprised. Are we talking about Mona the housewife, Mona the mom, Mona the churchgoer?
What's more, it seems that Mona wasn't coming out just to keep her sister company.
Mona's not watching Carla dance with other men and drink and talk to them. She's doing the same thing.
Maybe it's not Carla's doing, but Mona's.
Mona has a secret life. It certainly is from most of her friends.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda is investigating the double murder of Mona King and Carla Cannon, two sisters who were found.
There's something I'm not understanding. There's a hole in the story. I know it's there, and I know it's missing, but I just can't decide what it is.
Multiple statements confirm that Carla Cannon, who was recently divorced, liked to go out dancing. But to Kenda's surprise, Carla's quiet church-going sister had recently been joining in on the fun.
But Carla may have had an influence on that.
They're meeting different men. What if they meet the wrong one? What if something goes terribly wrong and they wind up dead as a result?
To solve this case, Kenda needs to look into Mona's private life. Her family puts him in touch with her best friend, Suzanne Conway.
Can you tell me about Mona's relationship with her husband?
I remember her saying that, she wanted more excitement in her life, and there was no one for her to hang out with in her neighborhood.
Mona explained to Suzanne that she's bored, that she has very little activity in her life. Her husband, Ray, works all the time.
She had tried to talk to her husband multiple times, that she wanted him around.
Why don't we go out tonight? Why don't we do something different?
And do what?
Let's just go get a drink some...
Tired.
I'm tired too, but I want to go have fun. I want to, live my life.
And he just wouldn't listen. He seemed like he didn't care.
Ray was not a communicator. She attempted numerous times to get him to sit down and talk to her about the problems that were going on, and she just could not get him to communicate with her.
But when Carla's divorce went through, and she moved in with Mona and Ray, it quickly shook things up.
Mona probably feels, why can't I be more like Carla and less like me? And I think that's how Carla becomes the catalyst without even knowing it.
Hi. She wants us to go out for an hour or so. You want to go?
Her sister was recently divorced, and I think she was trying to help by taking her out, trying to entertain her. They went to clubs a lot first.
Carla provides an avenue of escape for Mona to get her out of the boredom, out of that house, into the bar life, dancing out and about where the music is loud and the lights are bright.
Not long after Mona started going out to clubs with Carla, Mona and Ray separated.
Can you think of anything in particular that...
Yeah, she said she had started seeing someone.
Mona has met someone in a bar, and he and she have become an item in the last 4 months. Mona admits to her that she had sex outside the marriage.
Do you know what that person's name was?
Wayne Lewis.
Wayne Lewis. We go back to our first few minutes at the crime scene, and there stands Wayne Lewis, a CERN friend of Mona's.
Not only was Wayne involved with Mona, he deliberately withheld that information from Kenda.
How good is that? Are we that lucky?
What type of vehicle does he drive?
I believe he drives a white van. I think it might be a company van, but I don't think there's any words on it.
That fits very nicely with what the neighbor says he sees at that house on the day of the murders. So he at the moment.
Kenda has Wayne Lewis hauled in for questioning.
So I look at him and I said, "So are you intimate with Mona?" "Oh, no, I'm not intimate with her. I just met her in this bar and I listened to her describe her marital issues." "Right. Okay, Wayne, so the reason you speak to attractive women in bars is to offer counselor?"
You lied to us, Wayne. You told us you weren't romantically involved with either one of the victims.
And I said, Wayne, I really don't like it when people lie to me. Convince me you didn't kill 2 women. Because right now, I'm thinking you did. And that turned him white as a piece of paper.
She told me she was married, but that she was having problems with her husband.
He befriended Mona quite a bit.
Then, of course, he listens. He is friends with her. He'd like it to be more than friends. So he steps up his campaign of dating her.
I was sleeping with her, all right? I was. But I didn't kill her.
Wayne admits that he was out with Mona on Saturday night.
Then we went home, and we spent most of the day together Sunday. She said that she needed to go home Sunday night. So I said, well, I'll just drive you over there.
Wayne claims Mona was very much alive when he dropped her off at her house at 5:30 p.m. When he got back home, he hung out with his neighbors the rest of the night.
Went to work the next morning. And there's people that can verify that? Yeah.
We take that information and we confirm it.
All right, stay put. We'll check on this.
Married couple until 10:30 or 11.
But even though Wayne's story checks out, it doesn't prove his innocence.
Time frame of the death, 1:30 to 8:30. He says he's there at 5:30 dropping her off. What did he do in the meantime? Did he take that extra minute and kill everybody? Sure he could have.
Kenda's suspicion treat evidence to use against Wayne.
You're free to go. I better not find out you had anything to do with this. Thanks.
Determined to dig up new evidence, Kenda returns to the scene of the crime.
When you initially arrive at a crime scene, you will search it in a surface kind of way. You're looking for obvious things. I want to go take another look and see if there's something I overlooked or something into the boat with. I passed by the refrigerator and there's a piece of green paper with a magnet on it. And I started looking at it. It's a receipt from a key service with a date a few days before the murder. And the receipt reads to change all locks in the house. Why is Mona? So I go speak to this locksmith.
How you doing? I'm Detective Kenda.
Hey, good. What can I do for you?
Did you happen to work on this job a couple weeks ago?
Miss King, yeah, I changed the locks out in her house.
Did she say why she wanted them changed?
She's having some kind of trouble with her husband.
What kind of problem?
Not sure, really. She just seems scared of him.
Analysis seemed out of the ordinary.
Basic job, really.
All right, well, thank you for your help.
No problem.
The locksmith's information is an eye-opener.
That goes against everything we've heard about Raymond Lee King. Mr. Quiet, Mr. Dedicated, Mr. Electrician, Mr. Wonderful Guy. What has he done or said that makes Mona afraid of him? Because something did.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda is investigating the murders of Mona King and Carla Cannon. Kenda's just learned that Mona, who recently separated from her husband Raymond, may have been living in fear of him.
I found it interesting when the locksmith tells me that she's changing these locks because of the impending...
Would like to ask Ray King a few pointed questions, but he was initially told Ray's been on vacation. Instead, he heads to Ray's employer, ICG Electric, to see when he's due back.
You have a Ray King that works for you?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell me about him?
Nice guy. Seems to get along with everyone.
He was a little quiet. He wasn't boisterous at all. He was articulate. And he communicated
that he was an excellent worker. However, a couple of weeks prior to this, Ray had come to them and indicated that he was going through some marital problems, needed some time off because he needed to get his life in order.
One thing he says really trips my trigger. I said, when's he scheduled to come back to work?
He's due back today.
Do you know if he's here?
I don't know, but I can find out for you.
I appreciate that.
Is Ray King in today? I called our dispatcher and asked her where Ray was, and she tried him on the radio, and there was no response.
Okay, thank you, Linda. He's not here.
Is that unusual? Oh, Ray's never done this. Ray's always here. I don't like it when people aren't where they're supposed to be. Connected to a killing.
Do you happen to know where he's been staying?
I believe he's staying with his brother.
Do you happen to have that address?
Sure, I can give that to you.
Kenda races the 40 miles to Pueblo, Colorado, where Ray's brother Bob King is living.
How you doing? I'm Detective Kenda, Detective Arms.
So we start talking to him about Ray. Has Ray been staying here? Well, often
explains that this house actually belongs to somebody else. He and Ray have been house-sitting while the owners are traveling.
Can you tell me about the problems that Ray and Mona were having?
I don't know any of the particulars of what's going on. I do know that he wanted her to go to marriage counseling, and she didn't want to go.
That certainly turns off the possibility of a reconciliation. That puts Ray in a position of having to make a decision. If he can't reconcile with Mona, anything is possible. From abandonment to murder.
When was the last time you saw Ray?
Last Saturday. He came by to borrow my car.
Bob tells Kenda he lent Ray his blue pickup truck, which is identical to the one spotted at the crime scene.
Now, Ray doesn't happen to own a gun, does he?
No.
How about you? Do you own one?
No.
How about the homeowners?
Actually, they've got quite a collection downstairs, I believe. Sure, let me just give them a call.
We find Herb Ritchie by telephone. Herb Ritchie is the owner of the house where Bob is house watching, and he's also a gun collector. I tell Herb Ritchie we're investigating a homicide.
Do you happen to own a .22 caliber? You do.
And he says, I have two Smith & Wesson Model 17 6-shot .22 caliber
gels with the 12 shell casings discovered at the crime scene, and supports Kenda's original theory that two guns were used to commit the murders.
Would you mind if I took a look?
Kenda checks Herb Ritchie's gun cabinet. Sure enough, the .22s are missing.
My man has got two guns, he's got 50 rounds of ammo, and he's already killed twice. And I don't know where he is. Where are you, Ray? And how is this going to end?
Do you have any idea where your brother may be?
He bought a piece of property over in the Black Forest a few years ago, and he goes there sometimes.
His intent was to build a custom home on that ground. And that he was excited about it, and that he and Mona were going to live there, have another child. And he saw this as his dream place.
Bob gives Kenda the address of Ray's land in Black Forest, a wooded development just outside of Colorado Springs.
Lieutenant Kenda to dispatch. Yeah, I need you to put an APB out on a Ray King, possibly driving a silver and blue pickup truck.
But he already fears what they may find.
This is a guy, he's never gotten a parking ticket, who has been pressed to his limit by his emotions. I think he's killed 2 people. I think he's going to kill himself. It's possible he's sitting on that 7 acres of ground with a gun in his mouth as we speak.
Joe Kenda is on a race against time, searching for Raymond King, a man he believes killed his wife, Mona King, and her sister-in-law, Carla Cannon.
You never know what anybody's going to do when they put themselves in the position Ray's put himself in. Particularly when he's not a criminal. He's not predictable at all. And I want to find him right away. I don't want anybody else to get hurt.
Raymond may be hiding out on a parcel of land he purchased, and for his wife.
He's got 7 acres of ground in Black Forest, his dream that's now never going to happen. I send the sheriff's department to that acreage to see what they can find. I put an all-points bulletin for Raymond Lee King, the Ford Ranger pickup. We put that out to the entire state of Colorado and all surrounding states. There's nothing there. No tire tracks, no nothing. Okay, that's not where he is.
The search continues overnight and into the next day. Suddenly, his radio crackles. It's the news he's been waiting to hear.
Colorado State Patrol, trooper behind him, mile marker 135, Interstate 25 between Pueblo and Colorado Springs.
With your left hand, open the driver's door slowly. Step out of the vehicle and face away from me.
They do stop him. They get him out of the truck at gunpoint. He does not resist.
Get down on your knees.
The 2 .22 caliber revolvers were located, as well as some additional ammunition.
He had 30 rounds of .22 ammunition in his pocket, live, and $700 in cash.
At the station, Kenda's men discover even more evidence against Ray.
They're cowboy boots, and I see that there's dried blood soles.
Ray's boots are a match for the prints found at the crime scene. But even as the evidence against him continues to mount, Ray seems oddly oblivious.
The best word to describe Ray at this point is he's spacey. His eyes are not focusing on me or anything. He's looking at me, then he looks at the wall, then he looks at the ceiling, he looks at the floor. He's emotionally not there.
We got you, Ray. We had a witness to put your truck at the scene of the crime. We got the guns. Hell, you come in here with blood on your boots. I'm guessing when we test that's going to be the victims. You ready to tell us what happened?
Well, I went over there to talk to Mona. She wasn't there.
He says he takes guns with him to make Mona listen to him. And he thinks the guns are going to do that.
Ray claims while he was waiting for Mona, he laid one of those guns down, and Carla got her hands on it.
And he said, I tried to take it from her, and that damn thing went off. And he said she was sitting there on the floor. Shoot me more so I don't suffer.
It's one of the most far-fetched explanations Kenda's ever heard.
I just looked at him. What about Mona, Ray? What about that? Well, I was going to shoot myself, and then Mona walked in on me. And I don't remember what happened after that.
Kenda has a very different take on what happened.
His plan is guns and 50 rounds of ammunition. He's going to terminate his problem, which in his case are two people, Mona and Carla. When he gets there, I think he expects to find them both.
Ray, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here.
But he doesn't. He finds Carla, and he kills her immediately. Then he reloads, dumping those empties on the stereo cabinet, putting fresh ammo in both guns, and he waits.
Ray was so focused on the task at hand that he carelessly left the casings behind.
And when Mona comes in that door, she never knows what hit her.
Carla, are you home?
He starts blasting. And it ends right there.
Ray was charged initially with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of crime of violence for the deaths of Carla and Mona.
With the overwhelming evidence against him, it doesn't take long for a jury to
convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder and is sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences. Raymond Lee King will never get out of jail.
You never know why people do things. Thinking of Ray, I would have never suspected, but I've learned that you never really know what will push a button of somebody.
Something mentally snapped in him. There is no way that in the normal course of events would kill two women.
I think Ray was the kind of person that didn't know how to handle his feelings. And so I think when he was confronted with the real facts, I just don't think he was capable emotionally of dealing with it any other way than to just...
This is a murder no one would ever expect, occurring to 2 women that no one would ever believe would be the victim of a violent crime, perpetrated by someone who no one would ever believe would do that. It is a study in how things can go so badly when things seem to be going so well.